simple rosette on my soundboard. I drew center line so I knew where that was, right, where the two pieces are seamed together. I want to keep track of where that's at, and then since I'm doing a cutaway, I'm using this template and drew the exterior. I used this template as a means, which is the regular template, as a means of getting approximately where the sound hole is, and also where the bridge is going to go. Then I have put a rosette band in cherry, just like we did the practice rosette. I first cut it out, then I excavated, then inlaid it and glued. My next step is I want to inlay two pieces of purfling. That was cool. That wrap around the inside and then wrap around the outside of the rosette. This purfling, there's many different options. This is a black, white, black. It's kind of a paper fiber. And you can get this stuff from me or from guitar suppliers. So I've set up a bit in my Dremel and trammel that matches the thickness of this. I've also tested it to make sure it's going to fit right. You can see here on my practice board that I've made the cut with the Dremel, and then I inlaid that purfling strip inside of it, so I know it fits. It's quite thick, and I'm going to inlay it about a 1/16 of an inch into the wood, as I have done here. So some of it pops up, and after the glue dries, we'll come through and scrape it and then sand it flush. Trammel pin goes right there. Then I'm going to set up that bit so that it hits precisely the outside I don't know how well you can see it, but I've dropped my bit right there so that it cuts right on that seam. Now this seems decent, it's not too bad, but if you have a bad seam, sometimes this will cover it up. This has a light on it, and I like that light. I'm checking it all the way around to make sure it's going to cut in the precise location that I want. Looks really good. Start it on top, drop it down in, blowing out the crumbs as I cut. You can see the excavation, that hole. And that's where this is going to drop into. And I'll drop it in and wrap it as I go. Before I do that, I'm going to cut one on the inside as well. So I'm changing the location of my bit to hit right on the seam. And I'm going to check it in several locations to make sure it looks the way I want it to look. And I'm happy with it. tends to get some burrs on it, so I'm going to see if I can clean those burrs up just a little bit. Make it easier for that purfling to slide. So there's some burrs kind of right there that are intruding. Purfling really fits tight. I just can't have anything getting in the way. So I'm going to make sure this has a nice clean cut. And to start it, I find it's kind of helpful to shave it off just a little bit. Even a little bit like this will make a difference. That can drop down in there a little bit easier. Some glue. Just that far for now. The reason I'm starting it right here at the top of the rosette is because it's really a tight fit, which is good. It's a tight fit, that'll make a nice seam. So it's a little bit challenging to get in there, but in the end it's going to work out nice, I think. Okay, I'm getting to the end, so I'm putting my knife blade back in so that I can trim it. Out. Okay, good. So I'm going to do the same thing around the inside. And what I was saying is that I usually start it from the stop and end it from the stop, so that if I have any kind of a gap right there, the fretboard comes down right here, and you can design how that goes. Sometimes it'll go right over the rosette and into the sound hole. Other times you can end it right up here or integrate it somehow into there. So it's kind of a natural start-stop location. going to do the next one, and that was too tight, so I'm just going to remove a few thousandths of material, which will make it easier just by sanding a little bit of this fiber top and bottom. This radius is tighter. It's on the inside, but it should go fine. Let's see if my sanding down helps. And cut it off. Okay, we've let this purfling dry, and now I'm going to come through with the scraper and scrape it off. You can see the cutting edge of this piece of steel, which is all it is. In fact, you can see it peeling not only the purfling, but the wood, the spruce from the soundboard, and the cherry alongside it. Really makes easy work of this. Look at how cool that is when it peels up. Look at that. That's really cool, I think. You like those kind of things when you're a guitar nerd, woodworking nerd? Finish it off with some sandpaper. Now it is possible to sand too much off, right? This veneer is super thin, and so it's possible that I sand through it, so I've got to be cautious not to do that. Okay. Now I'm going to cut the hole out. The sound hole itself is 3 15/16. So I'm going to go 1 31/32. That's right there. So it's going to leave about 1/8 of an inch border inside my rosette. I'm using a little bit thicker bit, and I just swapped Dremels that had a bigger bit in it. And I'm going to do 2 passes. So I'll go around once, about halfway through, and then I'll take another pass and go all the way through and cut the circle completely out. Setting it according to mark. The way I'm setting this is I adjust this pin and it gives me some depth, and then you twist these handles and it drops to your depth stop, and then you lock it back in place. Okay, so this one should cut right through it. Okay, last step before I move on, I'm going to put an orbital sander on. This is 150 grit, the yellow one. I'm just going to clean up the whole soundboard. Don't press hard. I don't want to cut through my veneer or do any kind of damage. I'm going to soften up that rosette or the sound hole there just slightly. All right, now it's ready for putting the struts on the back.